This week's parsha, the gewesene parsha, was Parshas Lech. And the Torah tells us that Avraham was mal himself, and we all learned Chitas. And Rashi brings down a pasuk that the Rebbeinu Shloim, Avraham was afraid to mal himself. He was basically 99 years old. You know, he took the knife and his hand was shivering. So he was afraid maybe he's going to cut something, make damage. The Rebbeinu Shloim had helped him out, and the Chazal say, because it says by the davening v'churas imoy habris, the Rebbeinu Shloim made a bris together with him. Imoy, it doesn't say v'churas loy habris. V'churas imoy, that means together they made a bris. So that's the makar of being a sandik by a bris. I want to discuss a shaila which I had about 6 months ago. I'll tell you even the name. There's a guy in Kronites, Ayid, older guy. His name is Perlau, grandson of the old Perlau. The Rebbe used to say Perlov. So he had a question like this. He has a grandson. He's a shlichus, and he had a baby. And he asked him he should become being sandik. So he told him, listen, I was sandik already by you once, and the minig is you shouldn't be sandik 2 times. So he told him, my father cannot come, cannot fly in. My shver cannot fly in. He's not well. There's no roof in the community, so I don't have who to give. I can give, and the guy of the community, for me, there's a chshiva that you should come, although you were already basically a sandik by your other child. You should come. So he calls me up and tells me, Rabbi, what should I do? Should I do? Should I not do? You know. So I gave him this whole Nikida and I wrote it down for him. And I told him he could be sandik. So I just want to go over this Nikida. Push the geschmack noise. What is the inyan of sandik? As we mentioned before, the makar is in this week's parsha that v'churas ime abris and the Rebbeinu Shem helped him. The Gus Maimonus in Hilchas Milah says like this. That where people have a chemda, a desire to be sandik by a child, and being a balbris, v'liyois balbris, yesh lo smach miya medrash. He says, brings down medrash shoicher toif. I didn't find it over there, but I found it in Yalkut Shemoini. Which over there, the medrash says, Duvta Melech says, that he said, the Rebbeinu Shloim, he gave me a body, and every limb in my body, I am doing a mitzvah. And the Medrash said, my head, I learning Torah, and my hand, I'm putting on tefillin. He goes through all these things, what every Iver is doing a mitzvah. And then it says, Birkayim, the thighs. The Birkayim, I am a sandik for Jewish children. So, for this we see that being a sandik is a chaylik of being a balabris, and therefore, the Melech says, all my ivorim, all my limbs, basically is for the Eibishter. So this is what he brings down the makar of being a sandik. Interesting, the Targum Yoinesen Ben Eziel writes in the pasuk, Gam b'nai muchre be'manashe yildi al birkai Yosef. So he brings down 2 pshutim. One pshat is Yosef was the moil, but it's not. It doesn't fit the words. Yildi al birkai Yosef. So he says, and as an andere shoyne mochet, the Rebbe also brings down this Targum Yoinesen Ben Eziel. Birkai Yosef means he was the sandik to the children, his children. So therefore, we see the gewaltige chshivas of sanding. He's part of our bris, and therefore, when there's a sanding in shul, although the bris is going to be afternoon and not in the shul, but since the sanding damas in this minyan, you don't say tachna because he's a bal bris, and that's why sanding is a chaylik of bar bris. The Remu says in Yeridai Simas Reish Hamachai, that's Hilchas Milah, v'yufa koyach hasandik. Mikoyech hamoil. The sandik is much choshever than the moil. Lahagdim lekriyas haTorah. This the makar is basically a maril that basically you have to give the moil should get an aliyah, but if you cannot give aliyah, there's a coin and levi. You have only Yisrael, and so yufa when it comes to such a thing or Shabbos, you don't have enough aliyahs. The sandik comes before the moil because the sandik is an extra cheshivas, and as we mentioned, the Agus Maimon says he's a chaylik from Baal Bris, which you don't see it in a moil. So therefore, that's the gewaltige Sache of being a sandik. The Chassam Sofer in his shiva has two shivas regarding sandik, and also regarding being twice and that subject. Sima kifni in tes and kifni ches, and he says that the reason why sandik is more choshev than a moel is because the sandik has a chaylik of the mitzvah. He's a Baal Bris because he's a chaylik of the mitzvah. And he says that why is he a chaylik of the mitzvah? Because if you would have made a bris and you would have made the child on the table, it would have been very hard to be moel. Since he's in the laps of the sandik and he holds his feet, so that's a chaylik. He helps the moel. He's a chaylik of the bris, and therefore that's why he's called in the Rishonim a Baal Bris, because he's a chaylik of the bris. So the question goes: if you have today's day Russian people that you make a bris when they're a gedolim, then he's in a hospital bed. Is it considered a sandik or not? Now we all know it is considered sandik because we know. Remember Sundays used to go through bris Avri used to bring the sandik to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe used to give brachas for them, although they are not sandik b'poel. So therefore, we see that also by Maviger is also, although he doesn't keep him. So what? They stand around the child and they hold their head. Chapun the head. That's the whole sandik. So Rav Osner in his shuvas chaylik chesi writes, but that's also considered human chaylik from the bris, because since he comforts the child. Since he holds his head and he gives him comfort, that's also considered a sandik, and therefore he goes into chaylik halacha. But again, we see, so that's considered a sandik, and also if he's in shul, you don't say ta sachman because he's also considered a sandik, and we see the as I mentioned, we saw the Rebbe also he's a sandik. That's called a sandik.
You say chaylik from the bris because he helps the moil.
He helps the moil. This is some sofer.
It's choshev than the moil. Now
he more helps the child. Then when he's you help the child. That means you help also the moil that the person should be calm and ruhig. You should be able to make a bris. The questions we get. I want to get to the kidder. And it brings down an interesting thing. It brings down that in Sefer Zichron bis Rishonim, Rav Osner brings down the minig in Rome. There used to be the minig. There were two sandiks. The child used to used to put on the table, and one sandik grabbed one feet, the other sandik grabbed the other feet, and hold them together. And this was the sandekאות. So we see he's right. Although we don't pass like that, and we have to hold the child, but at least we see that holding the child in order they should be able to help the child, they should be able to be a sandik. That's good enough. Fine. So that's the nekida of a sandik of the dus. Now let's go to the question: can a person be sandik by two children? So again, the Maril's right brings the Menuga Maril. He's the father of all Ashkenazic halachas and minhugam. The Maril brings down in Lichas Mila b'shem Rabbeinu Peretz, one of the Rishonim. Quote: Mash ein koflin lusas lebunev lebal bris. The reason why we don't give for one person to be two times bal bris, that means sandik, and for every child he has a separate person should be sandik. So he gives the reason because we say in Gemara in Yima, kohen shehiktir kitoires pamachas l'shina oid l'oilam. A kohen which made kitoires used to make a goyrel who should make the kitoires that day. But anybody who made it already once never went into the goyrel again. Why? Because since kitoires is a thing which makes you rich, because the posuk says yisime kitoires ba'apechu. Doing ketoires, and then afterwards it says Burich Havaya Chaylo. That means Hashem should bench you. You should have a lot of pecha. So therefore, since it gives to make rich, we want to give every coin should have the schus to become rich, and we should. Therefore, we never said a person did not make ketoires twice. Zug the Marayne Peret, the same is also sandik. Since sandik is also basically also a thing which makes you rich, we want people should basically have the chance, and we don't give them twice. The grew on the beer grew on the spot says, we never saw that the person should become rich. So he has, this is what the Rebbe says. So a lot of Mepharshim writes afterwards, right, it means ruchnias. Rochni is rich, but Rochni is. But we know, again, in Samar Ein Rebbe, and the Rebbe used to say, Begashmis, and it's the famous story of Moshe Wolfson. Moshe Wolfson was a Sandik, Batak Bris Avram, and he's almost an older man, he doesn't need money, so he knew that the Rebbe is going to say, Ashiras Machrich, so he was thinking in his head, this is what he himself tells the story, he was thinking himself, when the Rebbe is going to say, Ashiras, means Ashiras Berochnias. So he went through, the Rebbe gave him $1, and then they told him he's going to be the Sandik, the Rebbe gave him $1, so see, this is Ashiras, and nicht nor in Rochnias, and auch in Gashmias. So he said, then was the saying, you cannot think anything before the Rebbe says $8. But the Rebbe told him clearly, it's Begashmias, again, so the Lubavitcher see them, when they are Sandik, for sure has to become rich. Huh? Looks like, I don't know his bank account. You know, people don't know other people's how many children they have, but they know exactly how much money there is in the bank account. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so that's the Nikita why we don't give Sandik 2 times. And the Remu brings it down Lalocha. V'chol Sandik have gemachte ketoyres v'lachayin nahagen shlolit shna yeludim lebal bris echet. You don't give 2 children for the same bal bris. Kedemrine gab ketoyres as we see by ketoyres chadushim lapkurim. The Mishnah says only new people should become balabris. Now the Noide B'Yida in his Shuva Sima Samach Vuf takes on the Rabbi Peretz very hardly, and he says, "Wait a minute. Let's assume you're saying that the sandik, the feet, the thigh. This is the Yerachim, the lap of a child of the sandik. That's already. That's as if it's a mezbayich because the child is lying on him. But who tell you it's like a mezbayich hazuaf? Maybe it's like mezbayich ha'oilo, which a coin which basically was makrav karbonas could be makrav again. So why did you decide that basically it's a ketoyres of a ketoyres like mezbayich ha-ketoyres? Maybe it's like mezbayich ha'oilo because a coin could make more than once being makrav carbon. The what? That we see that ketoyres is makes you rich, but it doesn't say that something is like a ketoyres. So Rabbi Peretz wants to say since the child lies in him is like a mezbayich, so it says who tells you like mezbayich ketoyres? Maybe it's like mezbayich oilo. That's one question. Second question, he says, wait a minute, kahanam. Okay, you have to make sure everybody should have a coin, but bal bris it belongs to him. It's his mitzvah. He can give whatever he wants. If he wants a person to become rich, he wants to give him 5 times. Wer bist du zu sagen that you don't give it for 2 times? Over there, but to make a lot of people it is, okay, you have to make sure everybody should get a chance. But a person which is his mitzvah, he cannot give it for anyone he wants? What kind of business is this? That's the second question. He goes on, and he says, the meaning by us is not like this, and we give, especially we have the Rov over here, we keep on giving him constantly Sandek, so therefore he goes, it's not, we don't do it like this. He has a Talmud, the famous Tshiva Mehava, he was also Rov in Prague, and he says, at Slaine Prague, I am Minikan. That means he used to give for the Rov and for the people, used to give twice the B'chol Medina spoil, I'm medaging bezeh. Mama Shazoi. Another question. Wait a minute. You say you shouldn't be sandik twice on the same person. Person has 2 children. Well, maybe you shouldn't be sandik at all. Once he had one sandik, he should never be a sandik. What does it make that it's a stubborn person? If I had it, but even I have a sandik, I shouldn't be even by Shimon or by Levi, by anyone. Since I had a chance, like Ketoyer, since I had a chance, why should I be able to have it? What's the din of by one person? So that, again, the Noide B'Yida says the minig is ishkamenik and finished. Interesting, the Eishlav Ruam from Oppenheimer, he writes Taka, as according to the Remu says that you shouldn't give to people, it doesn't say that you should give to one person, by one father. He says, the Remu says we don't give sandik 2 times. And the Chanama, the Remu, according to Pashtas, once you had a sandik, you should never be sandik again. And this is what he says. But Lamasa, it's not the minig like that. Kemivn, we have the minig is by one child we are makbet, but the child we are not makbet. The Birkei Yosef brings down also from the Beis David, one of the Svardish Gedolim, and he says that's also the Kumas Ramun, same as Eishlav Rum. Once you had the minig, you never sandig again. But the Birkei Yosef says this is not the kavurah of the remove. Look in the Dark Moshe, you're going to see that's not the kavurah of the remove. Chaim Palagi in his cipher writes, in his shuvas he writes, by us the minig is once a year. Once a year it could be Sunday. You cannot be Sunday more than once a year. Since it's doing like a so therefore we want to give a chance for other people. Only in 12 months, then that you could be Sunday, not more than that. And the Mikir Yosef also brings this the kid and is not happy with it. We're saying fine. So that's the Noid B'Yida. Kim the Chassam Sofer. Chassam Sofer has a whole shiva against the Noid B'Yida. And he writes, first of all, you are saying that you see by us in Prague it's not the minig like this. He says, first of all, it's a difference because you said there are Noid B'Yida rights. We see that we give for the Avet, for the Rav, you give constantly Sunday. First child, second child. So we see the minig is not like this. So the Chassam Sofer, wait a minute. No. Avet, Rav, something else. Why? Because we know Kohen we didn't give went into only a person which had once would never have going to the Goyim. Kohen Gudel could decide I want to make Torahs today, tomorrow, every tomorrow Kohen Gudel something else. So the Chassam Sofer says what kind of comparison you bring in from Prague that the minig is that basically the Rav has Sunday constantly. That's he's like Kohen Gudel. And they're Kohen Gudel. We don't care. That's not a raya against the Rabbi parents. Second, he says, and in Prague, that you did, your own, the minig is not in Prague like this, in the Meshibet to Prague, in the Machiv to Prague. In Prague, you're going to take, the Lushach sounds very sharp. This Neman, you're going to push away Rabbi parents, because in Prague, and in the minig, let's assume in Prague, and the minig, in the Meshibet to Prague. So the Chassam Sofer has a whole long achievement as Masber, as Avada, the minig is your minig. And he says more. He says even more. I'll tell you how the minig will happen in Prague that they give for everyone. It became that used to give for the Rav. And every time the Rav had the minig, in the Rav could have every time because he's like Kohen Gudel. Then the Rav started to be Moichel because he had it already once. He used to give it for us. He used to start Moichel. So they used to give it for other people. So, man vergessen, as the Sache is geworden, as it's rumgegangen von der Rav. And that's why the Chassam Sofer says the minig is a minig. And we don't give Sandakos to people. He's very strong by other minig. Fine. So, Kimt of them is doing a Gus Yachul, the famous Yachul on the Remu. In the Remu, and it says, there's a difference of a Zaida. A Zaida also, there's something else.
It's not so famous.
Yachul, Bias Shol?
Anyone know who he is? It's not so famous.
Wel zoekt Maxen Oilam. You know, that's the Mashur writes Maxen Oilam. So they asked, what Oilam? I went out in the street. I asked, nobody knew this. So the answer, fragt anything that is wrong. Oilam teuer. So, but people know Yachol, you know. Don't make, mach this so. That's a Shol was one of the greatest Gedolis rule in his time. Ja, was schon noch zusammen, siehst du? Das ist Khoshel gemscheiden. A kapunam. So sucht er was Shol that a Zaid is something else. Why a Zaid is something else? We have a fresh pasuk. Yosef Atzadik, Birka Yosef. So he was a grandfather. He was a grandfather. Therefore, he had Benai Buch Manashi is plural. That means all the children was Yosef Sandik. So we see a Zaid could be Sandik by all other people. By those. The Master, but the Rebbe in Kita Sichas has also on this noise, and the Rebbe is not zufrieden from them. The Rebbe says Yosef Atzadik not because he was a Zaida. Yosef Atzadik was because he was a Rebbe. He was a Rav. He was the Melech. A Melech as the Chassam Sofer. The Rebbe brings the Chassam Sofer as the Chassam Sofer, which says that a Rav could be more than one because it's Kohen Gudel. Yosef Atzadik is like Kohen Gudel, and therefore it's not a Raya of a Zaida could be, and it's not a problem. But Chalal took the Yosef Shol another reason why you could give a Zaida, because we know Makiri Kehina Shtayid, you shouldn't give Truma to one coin, you should give it to all the Kahana. But if you have Makiri Kehina, that means somebody which is you give constantly, Shtayid Nalucha, may give Makiri Kehina. That's why we give for the same coin. If a person makes, if it shouldn't happen, should make 2 times a Pid and a Ban. So we give for the same coin. Well, that's called Makiri Kina. We know that Kroivim are much more than Makiri Kina. So mine as either. So the Basa Shol holds grandfather is not a problem to being this. If you have 2 wives, the second wife is the first baby. That's why I said it shouldn't happen. If the person loses his wife, and he has, huh? There's no such thing. So what do we have now? We have like this. The Maril, the Remu, they are passing like the Rabbeinu Peretz. You shouldn't mechabat more than once. And Pashtas, not the Rav, nobody. Not a grandfather, nobody. Once you had, that's about it. Chassam Sofer says, yeah, a Rav is something else. He could be twice because he's like a Kohen Gudel. The Yad Shol says a grandfather is etwas anderes. Fine. Now, so when it comes to in our case, the only reason to be Michael for that person to have big sandik is you have Rabbi Yosef Yad Shol. But again, the Rebbe did not feel comfortable with Yad Shol, aber ich wollte passen gegen the Rebbe. Okay. But then, in Koivitz Benugi Chabad, in Yuno Heroin Velayde, the cover, I think today's day is already shown. There's a hardcover, but famous, the Kinteres, yeah. Huh? Yeah. So he brings it over there like this. A story. Chonya Marozov had a couple of children. So by one child, he was Mechabat, the Rebbe Shmusai, the Rebbe Rashab to be Sandik. By the second child, he was Mechabat, the Friedig Rebbe. Was Chai from the Rebbe Shmusai, he was Mechabat, the Friedig Rebbe. So the Rebbe Rashab asks him, why did you be Mechabat me again for the second child? So he said, there's a minig that you don't Mechabat the person twice. The Rebbe Shmusai Gezuk, that's only if it's a kuvot for the kuvot of to be whom you Mechabat. If it's kuvod of the Racham Nimel, that means who was your bris? Who was your sandik? The Rebbe Shmusa was sandik. There was always be his chshivas that he had his Rebbe was sandik. The Rebbe Shab was in sandik. It doesn't work like this. So therefore, the Rebbe Shab said, you could have given me. It didn't go als rov. It goes out pushes an chshiva for the child always. It's interesting. Is a Chaim Knesset brings down that the Chazanish answered the same question. Somebody asked him, how come you constantly? He said, listen to me. This is a kuvot for the child that So it's not something exactly. It's a kuvot for the child as a different halacha. Then there's something else. Now in this case, when his not father is not there, his father-in-law is not there. There's no roof there. You should give some guy over there. Since kan kuva das over the child, du kimt chi ran as the Zayde is on Sunday, as the kenna zogen etwas, Joe Mo was my Sunday, is schon du sibber auf the kenna Michael sammeln, some the Rebbe muss sein der Rebbe Shab. But no, some homerins a Yad Shol was the Zayde may go good. It's get a little bit easier. But there's another noch an kid. The Rebbe writes in Shtayt och ander post, but the Rebbe writes, somebody asked the Rebbe this question, and the Rebbe answered him that Im yechabduhu, you should be Sunday. That means some poets can say, I should not. It's an Isra on the guy who's mechaber. It's not an Isra on the guy who gets the kibbut. He gets the kibbut, then he can do it. You shouldn't be mechaber the person twice. So therefore, if mechaber you can go. The Rebbe writes in that letter also. He has a question. The Rebbe he writes for the Rebbe. We know the minig Chabad is we don't give 2 times. And the Rebbe answered him. The only answer was him. Imi chabdui yir b'shu toivim etzlachas. So over here, I said for this Yid, the Rebbe said, your son-in-law hat dich Chabad given. It's not no business. You can say, "Gain, benois with alle tzrifim." Aber ich gesagt, it's not a problem, and you should go. That it's als the heilig. Fine. So the kid is at Vurim He's a grandfather. Mat Chabad given. And it's a kuvot of a child. And that's why I told him it's not a problem. You should become. And he was talking to son. There's only one issue which I want to go in time is tzat. But there is a Rebbe Chuset. So at Tzvus Rebbe Chuset, the Rebbe Chuset says like this: Lo yase lechavayro sandik l'shnai bunam. Du shtayche ya one person. Don't say b'chal you should be being sandik 2 times. It says lo yase lechavayro sandik l'shnai bunam. For your friend, you shouldn't give for your friend the shnai bun of sandik. Eile im kain, one child is Rahman al passed away. Then you could be for the second child is not alive. The first child, then you could be a sandik. So now that's for sure. The Rebbe Chuset does not have the time of Rabbeinu Peretz because he's wealthy. Because it becomes ashiras. Because what's the difference if the child is alive or not? I am das Mekan gewesen, das was got sandik in the schus from being a sandik. So there's no reason that he shouldn't be again. Since he says that since the child is not alive, he could be something. We see a kaponam that it's not the reason because of the time of Rabbeinu Peretz. What's the reason? We don't know. This is how the famous Shivan Tamurim, the Semach Tzedek has a Talmud, which which made one of the beautiful, most nice cipher of Tzvus Rabbi Chuset. And he writes clear that we see that Rabbi Chuset says clearly it's not a time of Rabbi Peretz. First of all, because if Rabbi Peretz no different with Mais and Chai. Second of all, why Chavairoi? It's a mashma that a family member you could give only Chavairoi. So according, there is some kind of reason which we don't know, and therefore it's not the reason of Rabbi Peretz. So we have Rabbi Chuset. Rabbi Chuset, that's an issue. Now the answer to this is that in Rabbi Chuset you have to watch out. You know, there's a story of somebody asked the Belzeruf of a question. Somebody asked Belzeruf, Allah take out the tree. He says, I can deal with the Allah, but to Rabbi Chuset I'm afraid. So somebody told it over to the Beis Yisroel. So Beis Yisroel says, mit Rabbi Chuset I would, but I can't einzugeben, but nicht mit Belzeruf. You know. So with Rabbi Chuset you have to watch out. So, but we see we are not going according to Rabbi Chuset. We see we don't pass Rabbi Chuset. Why? Because if Rabbi Chuset, it's no difference of an avid. You don't give for a roof. No difference. So Shimon Temurim himself, the Talmud of Tzemach Tzedek, he says we see we don't go according to Rabbi Chuset. Because since we are Michael, that giving for a roof for twice, we do see we give, and according to Rabbi Chuset there's no difference. So therefore, we don't go according to Rabbi Chuset, we don't go according to Rabbi Peretz, so we still have all the Hatayr which I gave before. The Yosef, we don't have the problem even for Rabbi Chuset also. Because Rabbi Chuset says, Lo yitn lechavayroi l'shnai bunim. We don't give for a friend. And we know, famous Och der Sache, Rebbe Rashab, schreibt, lights in his letters, this is basically, steht schon 18 von Tzemach Tzedek, ich meine, bring it from Tzemach Tzedek, that the Rabbi Chuset's tzvur is only exactly how it is. Only exactly how he writes. Since we don't know the reasons, we don't go only what he says exactly and not something else. So therefore, since the Rabbi Chuset writes, you give for Chavayra, for a friend you cannot give. Family member, Azaydis, does not go into the gate of friends, and therefore, by us, in our case, in Enzel Shalom, even we don't go according to the Rabbi Chuset. And as we know, because a lot of poisons say that the Rabbi Chuset was said only for the Einiklech and only till a specific door. So therefore, if you're not an Einikl and it's not a specific door, it's not a problem. We know the story of Mrshon. Mrshon was a great Einikl from the Rabbi Chuset. And he was once by Sifs Rabbonim, and they spoke about the Rabbi Chuset. The Rabbi Chuset said, you shouldn't give a name Yehuda, you shouldn't give a name Shmuel. Also steht Rabbi Chuset. Rief sich von der Mrshon, ich bin ein Einikl für Rabbi Chuset, and my name is Shmuel, and my father's name was Yehuda. So basically, what do you want to say? As it's a limited to X amount of dollars, and therefore, afterwards, we don't have the Indian. So therefore, even if you want to be choishes to be a chuset, it has to be specific exactly according to be a chuset. So therefore, since it's not chavayr, it's a zayda, so therefore, it's not a problem. So therefore, I told for this person, for the zayda, you could go, why? For 4 reasons. One, you are basically a zayda, we have Rabbi Yachol. Number 2, we have the Rebbe, which the Rebbe writes that it's not a problem. The guy who is machabed, you could take it in any case. Since they're machabed, you could take it. Number 3, it's the covet of the child. So the covet of the child, that he should have someone which he knows. He could pinpoint that he was my sandek. And even Rabbi Chosid is not a problem because Rabbi Chosid is only lachavayro. Anything which is not lachavayro, we have no problem. And therefore, fuhr beschulam in Bisandik, and he called me up. He had some family member in Mamila. That was the Nikida why I felt that it's not a problem.